You can hear me. That was good. That was a good start.
That's good. That was
All
sounding great.
All right, let's go. All right. Hey guys, welcome back to the Redemption Podcast. And listen, I appreciate you guys rocking with me, but today I got a really great episode. I'm bringing in one of my gym bros, which I'm so excited to share his story with you guys because I think it's going to be a story that's going to motivate you and get you off your butt to go do the thing that you say you've been wanting to do. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to have a real conversation about what it takes for a man to commit to something bigger than himself. What we're going to be talking about is the discipline behind what it takes to prep, the mental toughness behind bodybuilding, and the identity that shifts. This is going to be a good one because the good or bad, those quiet moments that we face, my guest is going to, I'm excited because my guest is going to be able to share something with you guys that I think is going to definitely resonate with you. And one of the things I'll say is that this is my first guest. And so what I want to say, this is really, really important to me because as I think about redemption and what this means, my guest Rick is an epitome of this. Something that I will say before I bring him on the screen is that when we first met, I met him because I recognized something in him, and we had a conversation. That conversation was like bro to bro, and it was just one of those things I think that was like an opportunity to just lift a brother when he just needed that extra little lift at a moment. And I remember a few weeks later, he came back to me. And what he said to me is one of the reasons why I'm doing this podcast. He said to me, bro, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. And so the encouragement from him and just to know what he was after. So I'm not going to hold this any longer. I want to bring into the pod right now. I'm going to bring in, let's see if I got this right. There we go. My guy, Rick, how are you, sir? How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good, Z. Thanks for having me, man. Hey, I appreciate it. This is your first one. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
flattered, dude.
Listen, bro, you're over there. Traps looking all big, man. It looked like you just like you had shoulder day all week.
I wore my small shirt today.
There you go. When we say small, you mean like double X, right?
Yeah, I would.
Right? There it is. There it is. Yeah, man. So listen, bro, before we go, man, I just have to say thank you for joining the podcast. And I know that you've been supporting it, and I really appreciate that. And I'm just what I will tell you is I'm humble because this is just the beginning of something I'm working towards, and I'm grateful for have you on here to share your story. And I got some questions and stuff I want to ask you, but really I want to just give you an opportunity if you want to kind of just maybe tell people about yourself. Just a little backstory. What we're going to be talking about, but just wanted to give you the ground and let you share who you are.
Sure. My name is Rick Mata. I work in construction. I'm an electrical superintendent, a union electrical superintendent. Right now I'm working at the Orange County Sanitation District. We're upgrading the facilities. It's a good job. Before I became a union electrician, I was in the military. I was a Marine. And nothing really matters before then.
What did they say? Yeah. Did they say in the Marines? Is it what is that? Ooh, how do you say it? What's the hoorah? Yeah. I almost had it. Hoorah, yeah. Listen, I love it. I love it. So, it's crazy because man, like, like being in the gym, there's brothers in the gym, but then there's people that I connect with all these places. And just knowing like you're not like just some guy, bro. You're not only serving in the military, which again, thank you for your services. I think, what's more important is the fact that like, it says a lot about you, right? It says a lot about like where you're cut, how you're built, maybe even some of the like past and the things that you may be, experienced, but also too, like why you do the things you do now. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think too, like being in the service in the military, I have a lot of respect for men like yourself because not only there's a lot of reasons why guys go into the military, but I think also too, it's a selfless thing you're doing. And then you're serving a country, United States of America, which again, I salute you to that. And that just takes a special person, but that's probably before I ever met you, it was something that shined through you, bro. So again, appreciate it. And thank you for your services. One of the things I'm going to say just before we get into this, man, is like, when I talk about redemption a lot, and you and I have had this conversation, I think the most important thing is like, there are a lot of men out here who are struggling in silence, right? And a lot of times even beating themselves up or not even giving themselves a chance to really go after the thing they want. And I get it, bro. You know, we all have family. I saw your kid walk behind you. You know, we all have responsibilities. And it's not something that makes us like, some people might think like you're just different, right? And I do get that. I do get it, and people have different circumstances. But redemption is, to me, is making the decision to do something that maybe you did fail. Maybe you could have failed as a dad, failed in a job. Maybe it wasn't even failure. It could just been that you just didn't finish it. You know, whatever the case is. You know what I mean? So what does that mean to you, man? When you think about like, you know, yourself as a man, and you think about the things that, you know, when you think about redemption, like what does that mean to you?
Well, it's funny that what you just said about just enlisting and everything, because I would call myself before I joined the military a complete failure. Okay, I was getting into drugs, doing things I didn't like at the time, but I was caught up, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And you know, my mom said, "Hey, look, I know you're doing drugs. I know things are getting out of hand." And this is where I started, the lowest of the low, right? And she says, "You know, you should get out of here, join the military." So I was like, "You're right. I don't like where I'm at. I hate this. You know, I'm stuck here. That's my mission. That's my goal, right?"
Yeah.
So as soon as that made that my goal, I was done with everything. I was done with the drugs, done with everything. My next goal was to get into the military, and I got in, and it was just a choice, right? I didn't like where I was, so I had to pull myself out of it. I couldn't do it by myself until I found a goal or a mission. You know what I mean? And I think that's important for every man, is to find a mission for himself, a goal for themselves, so they feel a sense of worth, I guess.
Yeah, it's
I don't
purpose,
know.
bro. It's
Purpose,
purpose.
exactly. That's a better
Yeah,
word.
yeah. I was waiting. I was like going to give you that golden word, but yeah, you're right, man. Like, it's an interesting perspective that you have, because you know, when you start thinking about like and how old were you when that happened?
I was 19.
Yeah. So you're like becoming a new man, like you're like becoming a man, right? Like
Becoming a
graduated
man.
high school, got to figure out what you want to do, but without purpose, you drifted. Right.
Exactly.
And knowing that going into the military was going to give you purpose, you had to get in. Not only then, you also had a mission, right? You're even the fact that you use mission says a lot, you know, but that's right. And you say every man needs that. And I think that's where, you know, like, again, I think we do sacrifice ourselves in a way as men where, you know, we put ourselves last, but you know, how it is. And I'm going to get into an analogy that I'm thinking about, in my head, because, you know, when we think about brotherhood, and you think about like, you know, what we all need, there's an opportunity in a lot of situations where men rely on their skill, and they don't lack the ability to do something or talent. What they do is they lack the correction, the accountability, right? And I think going in the military, like it's like everywhere you turn, left and right, there's some level of accountability, right? And I love that, and I'm so glad you had that experience. My parents, my dad, my dad, his brothers, you know, my dad was in the Navy, his brothers were in the Army, and stuff like that. So, you know, they went that route. And, you know, for me, I had different plans. But again, a lot of the stuff that you talk about as an athlete is the same thing: having purpose, having a mission, being clear, and then working towards something, right? And I think that's a big thing. So yeah, man. So, you know, as we do this, you know, I think this is being the first interview, and for this podcast for me, you know, I think, you know, I just really want to roll with you, man, and just talk. I have some questions I want to talk to you about. Yeah. And what I think is most important, man, is, you know, there are people out here that are tuning into my channel, and, you know, first of all, I got to tell them thank you. A lot of them continue saying, man, I love your content, keep going. And I really appreciate that. So want you to know, that I see that. But this is what I want to do. These questions I'm asking you, they're one, to really allow you to kind of talk about your experience, especially from a bodybuilding perspective, but also too, if there's additional things you want to share, please do.
Sure.
So Rick, so this is the first one. So what originally pulled you into bodybuilding, and when did it shift for you, like training or the will to compete?
So, you know, growing up this is started young, okay? So, you know, I collected comic books, comic cards. I loved the superhero look, you know, and I was always infatuated by that. Like, I want to be that, you know what I mean?
Nice.
And then in high school, I finally got an opportunity to join a weightlifting gym. And I'll tell you what, in ninth grade, I weighed less than 110 pounds. Okay. And I'm short already and thin. Then, it's like, I didn't weigh anything. And, the gym, the weightlifting coach wouldn't allow me to go in my freshman year because he didn't think I was serious until my sophomore year, where I begged him,
Please, I want to gain weight.
go, and I loved it, man. I loved working out, the feeling of it, the pumps. I was like, wow, where have you been all my life? This is what I want to do. But then, as time progressed, I still loved lifting weights and doing all that stuff. And I joined the Marine Corps. They had a bodybuilding team in the Marine Corps. So I joined. I was like, sure, let's try it. But unfortunately, during the time I was in, it was Operation Iraqi Freedom, Operation Enduring Freedom. So all that kind of got pushed off to the side. So when I got out, I was like, okay, now's my chance, right? And I had just met my wife, and I was a single dad. So I had my son from previous marriage, but and I had just met my wife, and we had 3 kids. So again, I had to be pushed back a little bit.
Right.
So now I'm 44 years old. 2 years ago, my wife gave me the green light. You know what?
Wow.
You've done everything for us. Go ahead, live your dream. And then there we go. We went at it.
Love it, man. What's crazy is, as you're telling me the story, and I'm thinking to myself, first of all, I have to go back to the comic view. I was, I'm very perceptive of my surroundings, right? I pay attention to a lot of stuff, and there's times where I'll watch, a dad, walk into the car with the son. I even see people leaving the gym, right? And I think to myself, what does that son or that daughter think of their dad? Do they think their dad's a superhero? Maybe, I don't know, but we know what superheroes look like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what was interesting about it is I start to think about that. And, at 44 years old, what do your kids say to you when they see you?
So one of my Matthew, he's 12 years old. He went ahead and told his class what my name was and that I do bodybuilding. So what does he do? He searches on the computer and shows the whole class.
My dad's a stud.
Pictures.
Wow.
And there I am on my little doors. You know what I mean? So
you're like, son, maybe I not want to show your friends at school these pictures. We don't want to have any kind of issues from that either, right?
They think it's interesting.
It's right.
They like to compare their father to the other parents. So,
exactly.
I mean, that's a plus, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if your kids think you're old, right? They're like, oh, Dad, you're old. But I'm pretty sure seeing you stand up there competing and flexing like that, like they can, right? And I say this, man, because like guy to guy, like when we start talking about what matters to us, especially like we're just a few years apart. Like I don't want to be an old dad, and I don't want to be a rundown dad or whatever else, because I know regardless is like you are an example. Like when your wife's like, baby, go do your thing, like go live your dream, go compete. I know you've been wanting to do this. It's not just you competing. It's you showing how focused you can be and determined to get to a goal. And that's another example. Your kids see you prepping the food, and maybe the times where you're like dragging because it's so hard, but they see you get to the finish line. You know what I mean? And win or lose, wherever you place in the competition, we talked about it. It's just a competition between you and you, right? Can you outperform yourself? And so
that's
I think it's
it's just a competition for myself. I don't expect to be Mr. Olympia out there. Come on, those are just unrealistic ideas, right?
Right.
But just the idea of getting from point A to point B and say that I did it 100%, that's the reward for me. You know what I mean? I didn't cheat. I didn't quit, because I'm telling you that when you're down in calories and you're hungry, your mind plays tricks on you. Okay. Right. So it's a matter of just remembering what you did, how far have you gotten, and what it took to get here.
Right.
And then you just realize, like, no, there's no way in hell I'm going to go to the finish line until I'm done with this thing. you know?
Yeah, you know, too, Rick. I want to correct something I said because I feel like I agreed to something, but I want to check. I want to fix it first. Right?
Sure.
Is yes, there's a such thing as Mr. Olympia. Right? I get it,
Mm-hmm.
but that whole entire bodybuilding industry, it's so hard. I get it. It's subjective. I said this to you the other day.
Mm-hmm.
But what I will say to you is that what you accomplished or what you have accomplished, a lot of people have not. And so it's like, to me, I know you're proud or you're happy about what you've been able to do. And I know it, I know there's a part of like it feels good and it sucks at the same time, you know, the process. But I have to say, man, like, you know, what you've accomplished is something that I think there's admiration from it. And at the same time, like, you can be Mr. Olympia at UFC, bro. Like nobody's, you know, like, you know what I'm saying? Because not only, I think you competed in a novice, right? In novice. Yeah. And so when you think about what it takes to do that, the will to push through that, to me, there's no champion or title that you need other than badass because you did it. You know what I mean? And to me, like I said, yeah, you know, like if you want to be Mr. Olympia, you can. I mean, you're just chopping at the bit right now. You can do whatever you want. The difference is you went into it showing that, hey, I want to compete. I want to see what I'm capable of doing, and you did that. That's badass to me, and I want to just make sure I tell you that. Yeah. So you started. So bro, you started to get into that second question, and I want to preface this because I think this is a good opportunity for you to talk about some of these things. But what part of the prep challenged you the most, and how did you deal with those low moments?
Okay, so the food was tough. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, and you know it beats you down a little bit. I think the hardest thing for me is the family aspect because you know it's a selfish sport, and sometimes they say that they're this is how am I say it? Sometimes it's just so hard that it turns into a little fight here and there, or a little argument, or or a little. For me, a readjustment because I get so focused on this. Like that's my mission, like we said before. So I got to get redirected sometimes. With hey, you also have a family here,
Right.
and that was tough, So because I don't want to fight with my wife or anything like that, for something selfish that I'm doing. But luckily my wife is super supportive and we gotten through it and we've kind of grown a little stronger with it, because it gave us the opportunity to fight and also talk about it. You know what I mean? Because we don't just fight and get in our separate rooms or anything like that. We fight and talk about it, and we discuss her issues with it, and then she makes me realize, okay, this is what this is. I get it. I got to just get back on track. So that was tough, and then on top of that, because I have also a career, my days usually start from 4:00 in the morning. That's when I wake up, and then I get to the gym by 6:30, and out of there by 8:30. So and I try to get to bed by 10 o'clock. So a lot of times it'd be like 6 hour sleeps Monday through Friday.
Right.
So, and then the non-gym days, I'd come back and ride my bike for an hour and a half, because it's cardio time and then posing.
Right.
So even then, those days are long too. So that's the tough part. But again, when you have a goal and a set date, you just gotta attack it,
Right.
And regardless whether it's lack of sleep or just a little tired the next day, you just kind of go through it. But I tell you what, with the diet and especially with the diet, it almost helps you recover a little quicker because it is a healthy sport because you have to eat right. You have to eat perfectly good food where you can't gain any fat anywhere. You got to eat solid food, fruits, meats, rice is your carbs. I do sweet potato when I'm competing,
Nice.
So it's basic. It's just chicken breast, sweet potato. That's it.
Right. Yeah. Keep it simple, right? Yeah. You don't put too much thought behind it. I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's easier to digest. My body's not fighting, so it's easier for me to recover too. So 6 hours was tight, was pushing it, but it worked. So I was able to manage it. I can imagine that's a difficult kind of life, especially doing that for a couple months at a time. I mean, it was.
Yeah.
So for anybody to just say they're going to do it, that's kind of what you're looking at if you're looking at a career. But I wouldn't discourage you. I'd say go after it and just freaking just do it. You know what I mean? Whether how hard it is, if you're interested in doing something like that, like at my age, 30s, 40s, once you get to the finish line and you're on stage and you finally got through all that shit, it is like the greatest experience in the world because you accomplished something that's very difficult.
Right. There's a couple of things I want to break down that you said. One, I think I'll start with the end first, but I think it's important, that what you're saying is, yeah, you anyone can do this. So you put your mind to it. Just be prepared for what it's going to take, right?
Yeah.
But the one thing I really want to focus in, because you kind of tapped on it a few times, and I think a lot of men, this is what they're talking about, is the guilt behind doing something for yourself when you have family, career, and everything else that pulls you apart, right? I think this is one of those challenges that a lot of men have, man, where you think about like, if they get up in the morning and go to the gym, or they go to the gym after work, they're not there to help their wife with the kids, or they're not picking the kids up and all that. From what it sounds like, you work through some challenges with your wife, but you had your wife's support. You even said that from the beginning, right? And that's something I think as men, we have to vocalize and talk about what our vision is. And again, like, this wasn't something you've been doing for years. This is something that you wanted to do. And your wife was like, it's time for you to go do that thing. Like, she knew that was important to you. And here's the thing, but prior to me getting married, I've been with my wife 16 years. And, I think around like 2004, I started to go into the gym at like 4:30 in the morning. And that shifted because it was like, there was a relationship I had and I couldn't spend time with the girl I was dating because she'd work out in the morning. She's a trainer as well. And then what ended up happening is if I went out to the gym in the evening, she's going to bed when I'm coming home from the gym. We just didn't have a relationship. But also I started to realize, like, in order for me to kind of accomplish the goals I wanted, I needed to like start my day that way, because how many times I'm going to go to the gym after work and it didn't happen. Right. The world is awake. So for me, I had to prioritize getting up early in the morning, doing those things for myself, where I wasn't getting in the way of anyone. I wasn't not participating because I was there, and then being able to come home and obviously be present. So I think there's like ways to do it. You're doing it the way that works for you. But the big thing that I'm thinking about is the guilt factor that guys, go through. And then the one thing I want to say about that, and I'll move to my next point is, excuse me, is that it's the excuse why guys don't move. They'll just be like, yeah, bro, they'll say they feel guilty, or they'll tell you a story like, well, my kids, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, figure it out. Like, get up earlier. Like, there's a way, right? If there's a will, there's a way for sure. Right. And then the other thing I want to say is, when you talk about the moments with your calorie deficit and food, of course, bodybuilding, you're consuming healthy foods because in order for your body to peak, build muscle, and then for it to look good and healthy, you got to eat healthy food. The challenge though, is that you start to minimize the amount of calories you're eating, and then it's like, and then right before prep, of course, it gets even crazier, right? To that finish line. But there's a lot of men out here, and Rick, this is kind of like off schedule a little bit, but there's a lot of men out here that are chasing, like, they'll see you pose, right? And they'll be like, oh man, like, what did he do to get that way? And they'll hear you say, oh, I'm gonna eat chicken breast and rice or whatever, right? Or broccoli or whatever you're eating. And they're like, oh, I'm gonna do that. That, to me, there's an opportunity here, because some men are trying to do that, but they're also not trying to be bodybuilders. Some men are trying to do that, but then they don't realize what you do off season. Like, there's different things, right? So the reason why I bring that up is because, yeah, it's challenging, but I think there's a lot of people who will take that drastic route of how to eat. And I say drastic, meaning like they go from 0 to 100, right? And I'll say this because I'll be open about this, is like I think bodybuilding is a great sport, and anyone who does it, I commend you. It's like, I support you all the way. I don't do it. I don't do it because it's one of those things where, like, even if you look through my social media, I don't take my shirt off. This is not the goals I have. But I also realize that a lot of people compare what they're doing to their bodies to people like yourself who've busted their, because it's not, you don't do like just a cut and you just show up. It's you're doing the bulking, you're doing the hard lifts, right? You're doing all that stuff. Then it gets to like, it starts to then get scarce because you start to cut things down, right? Just talk
That's
about
when
that.
you show the muscle.
Right. Right. So there are guys out here that are going to watch this pod and watch this interview and be like, man, that's great. Like they probably want to know like, what's your secrets? And you kind of were like, yeah, just chicken and broccoli. Right.
Yeah.
What do you have to say? Because, there are some people who take these like, measures because they think, oh man, I want to cut down body fat real quick, or I want to do this. Like, what do you have in terms of your advice? Because again, there's a lot of people out there saying a lot of things. You've accomplished amazing goals. What do you have to say about that?
Well, see, the thing about the food for me is I've had stomach issues almost all my life. So when my coach put me into like the chicken rice or sweet potato and I finally got accustomed or the habit of eating these foods, I noticed that, damn, my stomach feels great. You know what I mean? So it made it easier for me to just stick with the diet. I mean, I'm not competing right now, but I'm eating the same diet because I feel great and my stomach feels great. I'm not super bloated. I could bend down, touch my toes easily. I'm mobile.
Right.
It helps in so many ways, and I hope that people understand that it's not just like fat that those bad foods create. It's inflammation and other bad shit that causes you to be slow and sluggish.
Right.
That eating decent food could change your life if you keep that habit. You know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what I'm going to keep doing, regardless of whether or not I'm competing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the thing that's important about what you're saying too is their consistency. Like most men that I work with, they struggle with bloating, right? They're gassy, all this stuff. And I actually had the same issue you were having with the stomach problems as well. Real sensitive stomach. And what I realized is a lot of the stuff we're consuming, you don't realize what it's made out of. You don't know what it does to your body. But then when you start to eliminate that stuff, it's not the fact that you go crazy restrictive. It's that you go healthy. And I don't use the word clean. I would say healthy, right? And
Whole
consistent.
foods, man.
Whole foods, right? Yeah. And I think that's key. I mean, when I've coached and got into this, it was like really teaching people the habit. Because the thing I think most people do is they try to go after like, oh, I'm going to, eat this many calories or be in a deficit. And I'm like, why don't you focus on being disciplined first? Like, can you eat consistently meals that are healthy for you? Can you start with one meal? Can you do 2 meals? And then once you start building a routine, just like you're doing right now, like you can't fall off because it's like, you won't go off it because you're so used to it and it's so common to you. Right.
Yeah. And it hurts when I get off of it now. Like, I noticed the biggest difference in the world. Like this last week when I indulged after my competition,
Oh yeah.
I was like, where's the meat? I need more meat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was already eating a lot of pasta, a lot of like Thai food, a lot of rice, pastas, and it was just like overloaded of carbs, and I felt it, and I was like, I need more protein here, and my body was craving it. It was the weirdest thing,
Wow.
And that's why like now I'm settled. I'm gonna eat the same stuff,
Yeah, that's good. Well, I'm gonna, a lot of this stuff I used to do a lot of videos where I would talk about calories and all this kind of stuff. And I think what I think is important in your message right now is that through the tough times you had to deal with work, your wife, being a father, all these other things, but also a little bit of guilt of being like focusing on yourself, but then figuring out how to balance that and then learning from it. And I love the fact that you and your wife have been able to have a new understanding, learning from it and growth, because, that also goes into her support to you, but also as men, like we have to do better too, showing up softer, being that, that allowing our wives to be able to communicate to us and feel safe to be able to, know. And then at the same time, the fact that she let you go chase after your dreams shows you a lot of the love, and she's willing to hold down the fort for you while you're doing that. So that's awesome. And salute to her, by the way. So, let me ask you this next question. Yeah. So this is really good, man. Like I love where we're at. So this next question is, what's something people never see behind the scenes that you wish more men understood about discipline and bodybuilding?
I think with discipline and bodybuilding, it's creating these habits. these habits of going to the gym, waking up
Mm-hmm.
at a certain time, doing these stuff. People don't really see that. Like you mentioned earlier, all the work that I'm doing in the back end that nobody sees.
Mm-hmm.
It's those habits that develop. Um, I mean, that's really that from bodybuilding. That's what I've gotten.
Yeah, it's almost like
Does that answer the
when,
question? I'm sorry.
yeah, and I'm going to help you because I know what you're saying is, when you think about you standing on the stage, that's the end result. Like all the ugly stuff, like you've already explained a lot. A lot of it's like, hey man, there's some dark days. There's some days where, like I'm on a low calorie. My mind is like going crazy because I want the food. Maybe you're tired.
Mm-hmm.
You still got to show up, right? You can't give the family
Yeah. Low on
leftover.
food and an hour and a half of cardio, and you see people get on. There's a machine, that Spartan over there at the UFC gym. I love
Yeah,
that thing. It kills me.
yeah.
But I'll sit there for a freaking whole hour, and I'll see people rotating on other machines. I
That's
was like,
hilarious.
well, I'm still here.
Right. You're like, how many people can I count and get off that machine before I get off this one? Right. Yeah. Well,
Right.
well, I think we're behind the scenes. I think one of the things when, people assume about, excuse me. People assume about, bodybuilding is that they know it's hard. Right. And I think there's a lot of people who even really enjoy what it looks like. Even yourself, when you were like, man, I want to compete, I want to do this. It's a different animal when you actually take on the feat. Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
yeah, one thing I think will help us, move forward with the next thing that I want to talk about, because you kind of mentioned it, is how did competing change you as a man? Like your confidence, your mindset, your habits, like your identity. Like how did that change?
I mean, it's the whole process of just those challenges
Mm-hmm.
to get to that stage. It's just it's taught me a lot of patience.
Mm,
Because every day is another increment, right? Another little
right,
chipping at the block.
right,
And one thing you learn is like you're not gonna get this overnight.
mm,
It's gonna take months, right?
mm-hmm,
And then down from months, you're gonna go down to weeks.
right,
And then when it gets scary, when it gets down to days,
right,
so
right,
it's taught me a lot of patience, and confidence too. A lot of the little mishaps at work aren't so big anymore
mm,
because I know that, okay, this happened. How do
right,
we fix this?
right,
You know what I mean? Let's look at it in every which way we can. Let's solve the problem and we'll get it done. And
right,
then as far as like my leadership skills, it's taught me that, you know, we need, again, patience and understanding and
mm,
be respectful as well, right?
right,
This is process is all of us are going through the same process together.
mm-hmm,
Let's get along and let's get it done the right way, respectfully. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So it's really kind of, you know, helped my confidence quite a bit, to be honest with you. It's allowed me to talk to my whole electrical group of, what is it now? We've gone down from 40, but now we're 25.
mm,
I hold the safety meetings, no problem. It's just kind of like the thing that I do now.
nice,
And I think I owe it a lot to these challenges that I've gone through, really.
yeah,
That it's giving me confidence that, like, if I could do this, then I could do that.
right,
You know what I mean?
right,
So
yeah.
it's helped me.
Yeah, so just as a brother in the gym, when I noticed you, and again, I've seen you in bulking stages, and I've seen you, cutting, right, and what I will say is like I recognize the discipline first, right? That's just because you show up and you see the results that you're working towards, and again, like it said, the proof, the actions, the results speak for themselves. But also
Mhm.
too, that means, when you're looking in the mirror and you're looking at yourself, you're probably being a little bit hard on yourself, or where you want to get. You want can you get the bulk? Can you get the cut? Can you define the muscle the certain way? Because you're posing all the time too, right?
Mhm.
There's so much stuff behind there. And I can just imagine the mindset that gets built behind there, because you want to be at your best. You want to look your best. You're putting in the work. You're making the sacrifices. You want the goals. You want the results of the things you're working so hard for. Then,
Right.
like there's times where you probably might say, man, I need to work harder, or maybe I need to be like, am I doing it right? And so there's questions and all that kind of stuff. There's all that we've probably talked about before, but then the result from it is how you're being cut, how you're being molded, how you're being kind of, at 44, like how you can continue to grow. And again, we're talking 44, bro. Like there's a lot of young guys doing this stuff, right? And you're, not that you're old, but again, like you're doing it at an age where most guys have just kind of given up. And you're you're out here, chopping at the bit. So to me, what it shows is that your heart, bro, the heart of a man, the guy that says, you know what, like I want something, I'm going after it. If it's hard, that's just going to make me a better person. I'm just going to get a better result out of it. And then when you do run into those adverse situations, work or whatever else, there's a level of resilience, like not eating, being on a cardio for an hour and a half every day, coming home from work, jumping on the bike to ride a bike, doing all these things and prepping yourself. There's a level of willpower. There's a definite, and I think it all becomes, you have clarity on where you're going and what you want. And I think that that's really big about what it does for you competing, because what I'm not going to bodybuild, but I can see that through the experience and what I've seen from you. I know as we've done this podcast, like I'm going to put some pictures up here so that people can see how much of a stud you are, but that's the end result, right? That's the, you were at one point, you were, 110 pound guy, right? Kid, with the heart of wanting to become and build, have that superhero type of look, but also just see what you're capable of. So I think it's awesome, man. Yeah. And one of the things too, because for this audience that comes in here, is like the reason why I really like having this conversation with you, and I thought it was important. Was the next thing to do, was because, I talk about a lot of things that I think that people don't maybe think about, but don't think about the way that I talk about it. And one of the things I want to say is like, I want men to come to this channel and be like, think to themselves, like, like they don't know you, but hopefully they're getting to know you. But just the fact that, like, when we start talking about, you stood on the other side of something, it's like, who's next? Like there's somebody that's going to listen to it and they're going to be next because of you. You know what I'm saying? That's dope. That to me is like, that's sick. Like, who's next? And I think that's awesome. Yeah. And I almost want to be like, if you're in the comments and that's what you're going to do, like, let's put in the comments, like, who I'm next, right? Raise your hand. Yeah. So listen, man, I got a couple more questions, and, really, sure. What I will say is that, I would love to have you back again, or maybe even do some things where we like talk about, like, catch you at a hard time when you're in their next competition and you're in the midst of, you're like, Z, I got 10 minutes, bro. And like, I'd love to show them the real, what it looks like. Right.
Yeah, for sure.
You're all smiles and everything else and all this great energy. I want to see what you look like when you're in the mess. But let me ask you this.
Sunk in a little bit more.
Yeah. So let me ask you, what advice, would you give a man who feels stuck, undisciplined, or inconsistent with his fitness life? With his fitness or life, excuse me.
I think, there's this, I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but that whole Navy lieutenant colonel, did I talk to you about that?
No, you didn't.
Okay. So one thing, my wife were watching a video, and then this Navy lieutenant colonel that was talking about, just making the bed, a simple thing every day,
right.
So we started that like years ago. And now when we walk past the bed, if it's not made up, something's wrong. You know what I mean? So we both, doesn't matter who, I don't expect her to do it. She doesn't expect me to do it, but who's ever there does it. Right. You just got to start somewhere and then progress from one habit to the next. You know what I mean? And, stop comparing yourself to everybody else. I don't compare myself to nobody. I compare myself to myself. Nice. And I think that's the best way to look at life, because the thing is, you're never going to look like person A or person B. You're never going to be that person, Right, you're going to be you always. Right. How about be a better self, a better version of you? Right. And, what I like to say to the younger guys is start early. Start these habits young. And I get it. It's fun to party and do that stuff. I mean, maybe get out of your system real quick, right, and jump on something like what your dream, whether it be bodybuilding or something else. You know what I mean? Start young, because when it hurts a little bit more when you're older. Right. But it's really just like, just stop with the excuses, build the habits, get a plan together, and just execute. You know what I mean? Because one of the biggest things that I've learned too in my life is I do not want to live with regret, because as you get older, those regrets get bigger and bigger. And now I could say that I did everything I wanted to do,
Nice.
and I I don't know there's anything else that I would want to do. I mean, other than live my life with my family.
Right.
But I accomplished a dream that I wanted to do, and it was fulfilling. It was great.
Yeah.
So I suggest we start looking at ourselves at what's our dreams, what's your dream, and just get it done before it's too late.
Yeah. Well, first of all, big ups to you. I don't know if there's many people who actually are able to live their lives and say that they did the thing that they wanted to do. There's a lot of people who go on and go to heaven and never accomplish the thing they really wanted. And so my hat's off to you, because I think there's a lot of us chasing the dream that we want, and sometimes it may be hard to get to that thing that we want, but at the same time, I think there's a few things that you said that were really profound to me. One, the whole analogy about making the bed is about something small and something simple that can be done, achievable, right? And I think what we don't understand is the power behind consistency, like building momentum. Like someone will say, well, what does making my bed have to do with anything else in my life? Well, first of all, why don't you try it and find out? Right. Second of all, it is the power of completion. It's doing something that you say you're going to do, and you do it every day. You can then say, hey man, if I can if you can get out of your bed, like when I was a single guy, making my bed was so easy, because all I had to do is just pull the cover back, my wife and I are on like different planets when it comes to our bed. And so our bed could be a mess. Right. But I get it. It's like the first thing you do when you get up in the morning is complete something, and it creates a habit of completion. Right. So then it's like, what's the next thing you can do? And what you were saying earlier was like creating these habits. And I think where the world talks about habits, and we say it kind of nonchalantly, I don't think people understand that it is the way what you're doing is building a new discipline. And the discipline is meaning it's saying like, okay, well, to your point, if you make your bed, okay, that's one thing. You said, then what's the next thing, right? What is the next thing? Maybe it's like, hey, I right now I don't go to the gym, but maybe I can go take a 15-minute walk in the morning before I shower or something like that, just to get a clarity walk. And so you start doing that, and you're like, man, that 15 minutes made a big difference, because there's white, they call it green noise when you go out and walk, right? So that helps. Then it's like, if you leave your phone and you're not on your phone, there's a clarity. You can just think about how to start your day and what you need to do. These are great habits to build, right? And then you think, what is that going to do for me? Well, it's going to make you start having more clarity, which will probably give you a little bit more focus on the things you need to do. Then you're like, what's the next thing? Maybe that walk gets a little longer. Maybe you say, you know what, I got 15 minutes to do. Now I got 30 minutes. Maybe I'll do a little bit of like squats and push-ups and sit-ups, right? And then I'll go for my walk. Now you just started a new habit. Now what you're doing is just make time for those things. And as you start to build on that, you're like, you know what? I think I'm gonna start going to the gym, but instead of just, and some people have it in them, we're just like, dude, I'm going from 0 to 100. I'm going to go to the gym, and that's cool. But I go back to it and say, and tell me if you agree with this. And this is something I really have said this, like, I'm not in shape because I work out hard. I'm in shape because I've worked out for a long time. I'm consistent, right? It's the time that I've been doing it, right? There's some people, and it's not just that too, because I think as you journey through your workouts, you've been working out most of your life, right? So if you think about it, the thing that happened is the more you worked out, you started seeing different goals, and then you started learning this bodybuilding competition stuff. You've learned a lot from it. It's actually helped you with your stomach, a lot of things, right? So that's where I feel like, when you're saying what you're saying, like it resonates with me, because, a lot of men are sitting here and they keep thinking they have to match me or doing something like, oh, all the guys are going to the gym 5, 6, 7 days a week. Like, no, you don't need to go in the gym and do an hour and a half of cardio. No, first of all, go do something. Like you and I will both say, go lift weights first. But the reality is go do something, get in the gym first and move. Mm-hmm. But if you got it in your heart, and you're like, that you're built a certain way, and that you're capable of doing more, just stick to building those habits and creating the space so that you can do the thing that you want, and then live that life the way it is. Because I think sometimes there's a lot of guys that are just stuck. It's not that they can't do it. They're just stuck. right? And it's like momentum is build momentum. So, Rick, this is really dope, man. I got one more question for you.
Yes,
This one's really cool. So looking ahead, what's next for you? Like in fitness and life, in the way that you want to grow, what's next for you?
So I'm taking a slight break from bodybuilding, just a little bit. I'm still going to eat the way I'm eating.
Good.
I don't have like a goal event that I'm planning for. But now at this time, I'm trying to be a better dad, better husband, just better person overall, right? That's just my goal. So we'll see what's next. But you'll still see me at the gym,
Right.
Focused on hitting it hard,
Nice.
And the funny thing is, you're saying the 7 days at the gym. I don't even do that. I go like 4 days,
Right.
maybe even 3 days,
Right.
So it doesn't have to be that much, right?
Right.
For the people interested in getting into the gym, but
Right.
yeah, I'm just gonna take it easy for now. Just kind of focus on the work, But the time for competition, I'd say maybe a year or 2 from now.
Okay.
Yeah, just
Nice.
because I need that mission again. You know what I mean?
Right.
I need something.
And you get pushed a little bit. Right.
Yeah, I need to be pushed for a little bit. So,
Right.
and that's what bodybuilding is going to do for me. So,
Nice.
It's going to be a little bit, but I'll get back into it.
Yeah. Well, I think that, all respects to that. And I think that's great. We get in different seasons, Rick. We go through, like you're focused on your competition, and you had to learn one. You went to one, and you learn a little bit more, and then you do and then you realize in the process, like there's a responsibility. There's that thing that keeps calling your name, like, hey, dad, hey, husband, like I got to show up. And I commend you because, it's not that you can't do it all. It's just that you have to prioritize things, and that's what's important. Like, not that your family wasn't as important when you were focused on it, but the support of your wife, she understood how important that was for you. And that's some of those things that we endure in terms of sacrifice when we love each other and stuff like that. So I want to say something to you. I'm you know how I am. I always have something to say. So I'll say this. Yeah, bro. So I'll say this, man, as a brother, man, one thing I would like to just give you as a first of all, to tell you thank you for being here is to say, when you think about what's next for you, bodybuilding and everything else, but when you said to be better husband, better dad, all that kind of stuff, one, you're there. Okay. That's one thing. But I also would say is that, what you have, bro, is so special. Like, you have your family, you have your wife, and you have, like, God gave that to you on purpose, bro. And if you really think about like what our responsibility is as men and as husbands, how hard you worked in getting yourself in shape, how hard you sacrificed for those things, like, give that kind of energy to your wife. She deserves it, right? Give that kind of, show up for your sons, show up for your kids. And when I say that, bro, like, I know you know that already, but it's just like, if you say, hey, bro, can you spot me real quick? This is what I'm doing. It's a spot. It's to say, like, go do it. Like, it's again, just like, if you're going to go hit a heavy weight, you're not asking me to spot you because you like, you're going to get it, but you just want to kind of be safe. And I'm the one that tells you, you got this already. Like, you just go get it. Right. So that's what I want to tell you, man. And I just want to say that, if there's anything that, as you go through this next stage in terms of just like what the next thing is, bro, like, we're going to see you in the gym and everything else, but I'd love to have you back, man. And I would say that, I want you to be one of my brothers for life, because there's things about you that I definitely admire. We didn't get it a lot. We could have got into so many other things. And maybe we'll do that, right? Because it definitely, when it gets to that point where we can get you in the dark moment, I'm going to catch you back. But I do want to say, man, humbly, thank you so much, man. And as a brother, as just me being a man of God, like, there's something special about you, bro. And I want you to continue to know that when you've competed and you've done all these things, God has been chiseling at you. And I'm sure it's been more in your heart and your mind. And I hope you pay attention to what that means, because what you've been able to show in the physical is so much bigger in the terms of how you're going to continue to impact. I can only imagine if you take a break from bodybuilding right now and the type of dude you're going to show up as, man, like I'm really excited to hear the things that you and your wife can continue to grow in, man. And so I'm happy for you. I'm proud of you, bro. And if you ever need anything from me, you know, you just holler at your boy.
I appreciate that. See,
Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, for sure, man. So listen, I'm going to say again, you know, this is it's my boy Rick Mata. And, you know, if you guys, I'm going to put some pictures on here so you guys can see his performance and results, man. But thank you again, my brother. I'm going to send this little message on the way out. So I'm going to move you off the screen just for a second. You'll still be here. Just wait for me for a second. Uh-oh. If I can do what I was supposed to do. There we go. All right. So guys, listen, this was a great opportunity for me to bring in one of my close friends, one of my brothers from the gym. And I just want to say to you guys, I hope you guys got a lot out of this. One thing I just want to finalize when I say this is that when I bring men on here and I share this space, this is just me showing you the kind of circle that I have, the kind of men that influence in my life, the people that I want to keep close to me. And, you know, if this message resonated with you, I hope that you subscribe and you continue to follow this channel. And the last thing I'll say with all of that is that, you know, one thing that stood out to me that Rick shared with us is that you know, in the process of him, you know, being able to have the opportunity to go chase after his dreams, you know, there was alignment with his wife. And I think that's super important. So all you married guys that are out there and you keep telling yourself that story, sit down and have a conversation with your wife. Don't be shy. Don't be scared to tell her what you want. You may not be at a place where, you know, if you tell her like, hey, babe, I'm going to do a bodybuilding competition, she can be like, what? I think what it is speak your vision, share with her what's important, and allow yourself to get that grace. And then when it comes down to it, you know, it's just going to take work and there's a little bit of sacrifice, but whatever that decision you make, just make sure that you do it in alignment. And I guarantee if you speak it into your wife and you explain to her, you can figure it out. And I will say this, you know, the other thing that Rick said to me that I want to just remind you guys of is that, you know, him getting to his goal was about, you know, competing against himself. And I will tell you, when it comes down to you, my challenge is, can you outlast the old version of yourself to become the man that God intended to you to be? That's what redemption is. It's being able to look at the things that you have allowed yourself to be stuck and held back. And do you have it in you? Can you outlast that person? Can you create new habits and do the things that you say you want to do and then outlast that old version? Can you fully redeem yourself? You know, and I will say that that's the one thing I want to challenge with you. And my last challenge, and I said this in the pod, is who's next? Rick said, you know, if I come on your podcast, bro, I hope I inspire somebody. So if you're next, add that in the comments. But otherwise, I appreciate you guys rocking with me and excuse me, and supporting me with the Redemption podcast. But I will say, just like always, continue to work on being the man that God intended to be. Stay strong, committed, and get yourself redeemed. Thank you guys. Peace out. We'll see you next time.